Are you hungry?
Give me something good.
Hi, and welcome to another episode of Görgött. Today we're back to one of these basics episode, and we're making we're making Yuzu Kosho, but without the yuzu. Because yuzu, obviously in Europe, you can get it, but it's not that easy to get, and it's quite expensive when you find it. So we're making a Yuzu Kosho without yuzu. So we're substituting yuzu for other citrus fruit. But before we have a look at what we have here on the board, if you're not doing so yet, please support the channel by hitting that subscribe button and checking the bell icon so that you get notifications. But now let's have a look at the board. We have some wonderful citrus fruit. Now I will continue to refer to it as Yuzu Kosho during this episode, but just so that you know, it's not really Yuzu Kosho because we're not using yuzu. Yuzu is a Japanese citrus fruit that tastes somewhere between a mandarin and a lemon. I think that's the best way how I can describe it. It's yellow, like a lemon, but it looks more like a mandarin. Now I don't have mandarins here because it's not the season, but I have some oranges, we have some limes, we have some lemons, and we have a grapefruit. So there's basically three ingredients in a Yuzu Kosho. There's the yuzu, and in our case, other citrus fruit. There's chili, either green or red. Most common is green. I have green chilies here, and salt to start the fermentation process. So we have a bit of prep work to do, but it's a very simple thing to make, and it goes well in so many dishes. Just to use it as kind of a seasoning even. It's fantastic. Has a bit of heat, freshness, perfect. But let's start with our citrus fruit. Just get yourself a plate, a board, or some paper. And then what you need to do, well, first of all, you need to wash all your citrus fruit, and then we're going to zest it. Now, this combination is just a combination I'm trying out. That's the nice thing, you can do whatever you want. You can just take lemons and then you turn it into something else. If you want to get it as close to Yuzu Kosho as you can, I would say lemons and mandarins if they're in season, because that's kind of the blend that yuzu tastes like. But yeah, I have this combination today, but you can do whatever you feel like. Important is citrus fruit and chilies. So we're just going to zest all of these, and I'm not going to bore you with making you watch the whole thing, but just make sure to zest them properly and to have something underneath to collect it. And I'll see you once these are all zested. I'll just show you as well, there's actually two ways of zesting something. There's this way that I normally use, but there's an even better way, and that's just to turn this around, and then you turn the lemon in your hand, or the fruit in your hand, and zest it like this. Even easier. I'll see you in a bit. As you can see, our citrus fruit is naked. All the zest is there. Now, some people put a bit of juice into the Yuzu Kosho. I've never done that. I don't think it's needed. So I will just juice these separately, and you have a perfect kind of citrus juice that you can either drink, mix with a bit of water if it's too sour. But I think this combination should be fine as it is. Now let's move on to the chilies. For the chilies, it's straightforward and easy. You just have to make a choice, and that is keep the inside or take it away. The inside will add a bit of a rougher texture, also a bit more spiciness. For today, I'm going to remove it. Some people say it's bitter, but I don't think so. I've never tasted bitterness coming from the chilies in the Yuzu Kosho. But for today, I'm removing them, but it's up to you. So we just scrape them off, like so. And then we're just going to chop up our chilies, just very thinly slice them, and then we'll go over and chop them as well. But the first thing we need to do is to kind of de-seed them all. So do that first. You can slice them up as well, and then we'll chop it up. So we've de-seeded them all. Now, if your hands are sensitive, you can wear gloves, but I'm fine. And now we just need to, you don't need to be careful with how you kind of slice them because we're going to chop it all up afterwards. But slice up all your chilies as a first step, and then we go over them in a, the kind of chopping movement. But first slice. And if you think it's too much work to do this, just put it all in the blender. It works as well. So there we are with the slicing. And I'll just go through it until you have a fine mass of chili. Now it's quite fine. Don't worry too much about it because the fermentation process will break it down a little bit. But now it's time to add our zest and continue chopping with the zest to kind of mix in the zest. And in terms of quantity, I would say it's 2/3, 1/3 normally when I make it. I think the classical is a little bit more citrus, a little bit more yuzu zest. But this works well for me, and it's something that you can play with yourself. Now we just go back on it with the chilies and the zest mixed together. Already now it's a wonderful aroma, or a wonderful, I guess you can say aroma about smell, right? Fragrance, wonderful fragrance. For me, this is fine enough. So we're going to put it into a bowl now, but we're going to weigh it. So let's get the scale out, let's get a bowl out, and then we'll weigh it. Now we have 88 grams. I don't know if you can see it. It's probably covered by the, 88. Now I tend to use, or I always use 10% salt. There's some recipes out there with 20. I think that's too much, you don't need it. You can even go a little bit less, but I go with 10%. So 88 grams, it's 8.8 grams of salt. And my scale is not that accurate, so it will probably be 9 grams. Yeah, 9 grams. And I will mix that. And the easiest way is just with a spoon. And that's basically the whole recipe. Now you just need time. It needs about 2 weeks, room temperature. I'll leave it somewhere behind there in a glass jar with a lid. I will open the lid maybe once a day, maybe mix through it once a day, and just see how it develops. But rule of thumb, 2 weeks. And then you can put it in the fridge and it will keep for at least another month. But yeah, I'll see you in 2 weeks. Not bad. Citrusy, fermented, perfect. So it's been 2 weeks. This is our result. Now we'll put it into a smaller jar. I'm also going to show you what I most of the time use Yuzu Kosho for, or in this case citrus kosho. But before we do that, if you stuck with me this far, there must have been something you enjoyed about this video. So you do me a huge favor, hit the thumbs up button. It's just down there, easy, hit it. Thank you. Now let's move it over to a smaller container, and I'll do my favorite Yuzu Kosho dipping sauce. And the dipping sauce is dead easy. We have some soy sauce here. And we just put like half a teaspoon of Yuzu Kosho in there. And bam, you have the most fantastic dipping sauce for like gyoza or anything, any kind of dumplings that you dip in soy. Perfect. So that's what you can do with it. But you can also do like a Yuzu Kosho beurre blanc. I did that in a previous episode. I'll link to that episode here. Also amazing. You can basically use it wherever you want to spice something up a bit. It adds salt because it's very salty, and it adds heat, and it adds freshness, sourness. I have these smaller jars. It's a bit easier with space. And you can obviously, if you prefer, you can go over this with a knife again and chop it even finer. But I'm quite happy with this. I don't mind that it has texture. So, almost perfect size. And that's basically it. That's how you make Yuzu Kosho. Well, in our case, we didn't make Yuzu Kosho, but citrus fruit kosho. And it keeps, well, until it doesn't keep anymore. I would say I've had these for probably up to a couple of months in the fridge. So this goes in the fridge now. It hasn't been in the fridge yet because it ferments quicker if it's not in the fridge. So into the fridge, and that's it for this episode. There's not any plating or any tasting. It doesn't really make sense, but I hope you still enjoyed it. Thank you for this time. Take care. Bye-bye.